high-tech oils. Available from Auto One, Sprint Auto Parts and all leading independent auto stores.
On today's show, we wind the clock back to the action-packed 2014 edition of the Troy Bayliss Classic from Taree's Old Bar Flat Track in northern New South Wales. Then we head over to Hampton Downs Motorsport Park in Waikato, New Zealand, as the D1 NZ National Drifting Championships kick into top gear with round 4 of the 2014-15 season. Then it's back across the Wakefield Park in Goulburn for our continued 5th round coverage of the Swan Insurance Australasian Superbike Championship, featuring all the major support action. This is Speedweek.
Flat track or dirt track started for me here at Old Bar basically when I was around 13 and 14. I cut my teeth here on the Taree Old Bar oil track. That's where I learned to slide, I guess you could say. Later I moved on to road racing and I came back about 25 years later. I'm back here, I feel young again. I really love to ride on the oil again. To retire as world champion was great. To finish riding the best bikes in the world, it's the dream everyone wants to do. Now I find myself back at Old Bar in the dirt, in the oil, with myself and my son and lots of other friends racing again. We're back at the scene of the crime. We're back at one of my really good friends' place by the river. We did exactly the same thing last year. We got all the invited guys. We came down to the river and basically had a barbecue and just let everybody catch up and have a mingle. So we've basically got the riders, some mechanics and their partners, and it's just about sharing some stories from now and then, and maybe some for the future. It's just a great afternoon, just kicking around. Picking these invited riders is not easy. There's a lot of top class guys around, but I mean, all the guys have got a good name. For 2014, we've split the riders into 2 groups. We've got the legends and we've got the all-stars. The 12 legend riders that we have are Stuart Bennett, David Armstrong, Jason Crump, Anthony Gunter, Jeff Leask, Shane King, Vaughan Stile, Stephen Gall, Phil Lovett, Sean Giles, Barry Cockle and Chris Watson. Our all-star riders, Paul Kaslik, Christopher Meehan, Jack Miller, Troy Herfrost, Troy Bayliss, Jamie Stauffer, Carl Muggeridge, Josh Hook, Wayne Maxwell, Alex Cudlin, Chris Hollis, Toby Price, Mick Kirkness, Matt Davies, Cameron Donald, Gary McCoy, Darcy Ward. Our guests from overseas, we've got the 2 American guys, Henry Wiles and Sammy Halbert, both at the top of their game. Henry's won Peoria 9 years in a row. Sam and Slammy Halbert, they call him. He's one of the most aggressive people on the bike you'll ever see. If these guys get half a chance to put it up the inside of you, they won't be knocking on the door, they just open it. Masatoshi Omori from Japan. He's a bit of a YouTube sensation, flat track champion in Japan. We've all seen what he can do on YouTube, sliding around in the car parks. He's got some incredible skills, laying the bike down like he does. They're going to put on a good show and it's going to be nice for our Aussies, but to have some international riders and good ones at that, it opens it up even more. We're all a pretty easygoing bunch of guys. We all get on very well. We all love our motorcycle racing and we all love to do well. We jag this somehow. It's not a big money event, not yet. It's all about having a good time, a little bit of pride. It's worth doing well and it's worth actually coming to just from the recognition that you actually get from it. So I feel pretty honoured to be involved with an event like this.
Top 9 now getting on the grid for the start of the quarterfinal. All the elimination heats have taken place. This is the top 9. They'll be battling it out for positions in the semi-final, and then of course the final. We drop 3 at the end of this race, Kev. Pressure really on. 3 laps. Top 6 to go through.
Yep, bottom 3 go out. Kirkness up, having a look up the inside. Wiles around the outside, so the American in front at this stage. Paul Kaslik showing his stuff in second place right behind the American in front of Kirkness, so Wiles getting out front a little bit, and Troy Herfrost having a go at Kirkness there in 4th place, and Jack Miller's down.
Now, unfortunately, I think there was another one went down there with Jack Miller as well. Not quite sure who that was. Jack Miller's got his bike up and going again, but he's a fair way behind the rest of the field. That's
Sammy Halbert.
Sammy Halbert. Red flag. That could be good for Sammy Halbert because he should get to restart. There's someone getting pretty excited about the Troy Bayliss Classic. Maybe a little overexcited, Kev.
Could well be, and Sammy Halbert's got the thing rolling again, heading back towards the start gate, goggles off, to clean things up. You can see those boys.
Yeah, with Jack, I think Jack Miller essentially ran wide and left poor old Sammy with nowhere to go except into the Ensure My Ride barrier.
Yeah, well, that's sort of the nature of dirt track, and there's not much run-off area, obviously, and, you know, Jack Miller getting a little bit hot, or, you know, he's got a bit of assistance from another rider.
Hey, he was beside me. Right.
Paul Kaslik saying that Wayne Maxwell was beside him.
True. No way. He
Show
was
us a
beside
replay.
me,
You've
mate.
got it on there.
I'm not going to watch the replay.
You're not. Why not?
No choice.
That's
I was
bull-
of the track, but the three people who were here on the start line saw
You
it.
can't be serious.
absolutely guys. Come on. You've been that inconsistent with the gates all day.
Second out the gate, mate. You were the only one in front of me, and your wheel was about this high, mate. You got air. No, but that's off the gate, mate. They've been riding the gate all night long. What did you say, Ryan?
Well, Paul Kaslik, we said he was all fired up in the start of that heat, but unfortunately, Kev, a little bit too fired up off the heat, of the start. There we see a replay of him riding over the gate.
He just bounced her over the top there on the left of screen, and Jack Miller explained it fairly clearly, and you know, it was a typical dirt track meeting. That's what normally goes on, and this is, at the end of the day, a dirt track meeting.
Well, Paul Kaslik's been kicked out as Wayne Maxwell kick-starts his Suzuki RMZ 450, getting ready for the start of the quarter-final heat, being rerun. Jack Miller getting ready along with Matt Davies there. Kirkness towards the outside of the grid. He won't get the best of runs down into turn one from there. Miller gets another fantastic start. Actually goes a little bit to the left off the start, but Herfoss leads them down into turn one. Both the Americans up towards the front, Kev.
Yeah, Jack Miller up the inside of Henry Wiles, but Wiles gets him back on the outside of the big wide turn one. So Henry Wiles up into second. Jack Miller goes back under him. And Wiles goes back under him again, so it's on for young and old here.
There we just saw three overtaking manoeuvres in half a corner as Jack Miller just throws it sideways on the entry to the corner. On board with Michael Kirkness, looking back now at Sammy Halbert on bike number 7, putting the pressure on the back of Kirkness as they make their way around. We've only got 3 laps of the journey. Troy Herfoss goes a bit wide. Henry Wiles still in a safe second place. 1 lap to go. Kirkness in 4th place at the moment, but these top 2 are really starting to get away.
Yeah, they've got themselves a little bit of a gap, and on board with Wiles now. Herfoss back up the inside. This is it, last turn.
Well, great bike speed there from Troy Herfoss as he just stormed up the inside and manages to hold him off. Herfoss takes the victory, but unfortunately, along with Paul Kaslik, it looks like Wayne Maxwell and Jamie Stouffer will not progress through to the semi-final.
Unfortunate for those guys, but that's the way it goes. It's quick dirt track racing, and they're chopped out in those 3 laps.
Well, Jack Miller pretty happy with his efforts there as we get ready now for the semi-final. Troy Herfoss, Henry Wiles, Sammy Halbert, Matt Davies, Michael Kirkness and Jack Miller. The Americana has been a massive hit, Kev, and pressure really starting to mount now. The top 3 only through to the final. Even start, they all stream down into turn 1, bashing bars with each other, but it is Herfoss and Wiles that lead their way through. Sammy Halbert right in there as well. No love lost between the Americans.
Yeah, Matt Davies there bringing up the rear of the field at the moment. Just got up place there and right onto the back of his old mate Kirkness and sparring partner. Right now, Herfoss and Henry Wiles from Sammy Halbert. So the 2 Americans in 2nd and 3rd. And Mick Kirkness in 4th. So he's the first one to be eliminated at this stage. So he'll be trying to do something to at least get up into that 3rd place.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jack Miller has dropped off the back, but the top 5 are so close. We've only got a 3-lap journey. Herfoss leads from Henry Wiles on the Kawasaki that was built by Glenn Barks McDonald at Kawasaki headquarters in Sydney in preparation for this event. Leftover parts from the motocross team. It's going pretty well at the moment. Sammy Halbert on bike number 7 in there in 3rd place. Looks like he will be the last rider through into the final as Michael Kirkness has a big dive up the inside. Goes down on the last corner, but it's Troy Herfoss and our 2 Americans through to the Americana final.
And then there were 3.
And there were three, a good lineup for the last three, I must say. Herfrost is on form, and we've got the two internationals here, so I mean, this is going to be a great 3 laps.
Well, pressure is on Kevin McGee. 3 laps, 3 riders. Plenty of room on the track, but I bet there won't be much into turn 1.
And that's right, this is it. Troy Herfoss is against the 2 Americans. He's a very talented rider, road racer, everything, dirt tracker. And we'll see what he's got for them as they get away from the start reasonably even. Herfoss got the better of it down into turn 1. Herfoss leads, Sammy Halbert and Henry Wiles.
But that was a great start from Troy Herfoss. He blasted in from the outside of the grid. He's got a little bit sideways on the exit of the corner. That's going to just hamper his drive a fraction. The Americans are going to come back at him hard. Sammy Halbert on bike number 7 is right behind, and Henry Wiles right there as well. They are so close as they come down into turn 1 for the second time.
Yeah, and as we know, the 2 Americans hate each other, and Troy Herfoss out in front, so he'll be hoping they argue over second place, but they'll be trying to trip up the Aussie and at least get an American victory here on Australian soil.
Well, the Americans are no stranger to Troy Herfoss as Sammy Halbert goes up the inside. Henry Wiles goes with him as well, so the 2 Americans in first and second. Herfoss comes back. Of course, he has won the AMA Supermoto Championship, so we've essentially got 3 guys experienced in American racing as Herfoss comes back again.
From the outside up to the inside and then right back into second, and Henry Wiles gives it to him. Herfoss flips him off, and they're around to the checkered flag. So fairly relevant tactics, I think, for the last lap of the dirt track.
Well, Herfoss, you can see he wasn't too happy with Henry Wiles' tactics, but Sammy Halbert takes the victory over Henry Wiles and also Troy Herfoss. But what a fantastic final for the Americanas. Congratulations to our top 3 and our victor, Sammy Halbert.
And here's Wiles on Herfoss. You can see him there, and he gets out on his foot, runs over Troy Herfoss's foot. Troy Herfoss gives him the bird, and he's not too happy with that kind of tactics.
Sammy, congratulations, winner of the Americana.
Yeah, no, it was a really good race. You know, I didn't have the whole shot, and Herfoss was running really good. I got up inside of him, gave him a little gentle nudge, got right out of the way, took the lead, so it was really cool. You know, I'm an American flat tracker, so I had to win that race.
How does this compare to flat track in America?
I mean, it's a little different just because we're running the 17-inch tires, but it's pretty good. You know, these guys are going for it, so it's good.
How's the crowd treating it?
The crowd's awesome. You know, I'm loving Australia. Everybody here is great, so it's been a pleasure.
Well, good luck in the Super Bowl coming up soon.
All right, thanks, mate. I'm gonna go for it.
I saw you give him some gentle hand signals on the way back in, just to let him know how you felt.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed. You know, like I was fairly wide. He had the second place anyway. I mean, he's racing for second, so yeah, I didn't think he really had a need to come out and run over my foot. But you know, it's getting down to the pointy end now, and everyone wants to win, and so it's good to be a big threat to him. That's for sure.
Well, Troy Herfoss is all pumped up, but it's getting close now. Super Pole and the Troy Bayliss Classic Cup final is coming up shortly. With 28 riders remaining to battle out the Super Pole, they had just 1 sighting lap and 1 flying lap to record a time good enough to make the final 12 in the Troy Bayliss Cup. Aussie Superbike rider Josh Hook and American Henry Wiles showed plenty of speed, but it was Bayliss himself who set the early pace with a 22.039. Japanese rider Masa-san found the speed difficult to deal with and crashed out of contention. While Pro Open newcomer Luke Richards showed up his more famous rivals with a 21.935. But in the end, it was American champ Sammy Halbert who took the honours with a blistering 21.861 to take pole position. As we get ready now for the Troy Bayliss Cup, our top 12 following Super Pole see Sammy Halbert start from pole position ahead of Luke Richards and Troy Bayliss.
Joshua Hook, Henry Wiles and Jamie Stoker.
Troy Herfoss, Michael Kirkness and Matt Davies.
Paul Kaslik, Chris Vermeulen and Wayne Maxwell round out the top 12 finalists.
Well, as the tension starts to build, let's go down to the grid and hear from some of our riders.
Well, it's been a long day, but it's been a good day at that. So one more race to go. Hopefully I can fluke one start today, and that'll be good. I can get out there at the start and get a good run, not get held up. So we'll see what happens.
7 minutes. It takes 3 minutes to go to the toilet. So 21 minutes, 21 laps. Yeah, you train for it. If you're not fit enough to go out here and do 21 laps, you don't deserve to be in there.
This final's going to be on. It's a lot of fast guys out there, and it's going to be interesting. But we'll give it our best shot and see what happens.
It's going to be interesting. That is the understatement of the year from the young Taree man, Josh Hook. Kev, as we get ready now for the start of the Troy Bayliss Cup, the tension is really starting to build down there on the start-finish line. But probably one thing that's important to mention is that we've seen short races so far in the Troy Bayliss Classic this year. This is a much longer event. How important is that start?
Yeah, the earlier heats were 7 laps, so 3 times longer. 21-lap final for the 12 riders. So the start's very important, especially in those 7-lappers, but ideally just as important in the 21-lapper because it's the less trouble you're going to get in the further you are towards the front. Down towards the back, you tend to get into more trouble.
Well, want to be into turn 1 first up, and everyone will be battling to try and do that now as we get ready. The crowd is pumped. They've hung around. The evening has gone on. It's a little bit later than probably what the organisers would have expected, but the anticipation now is really starting to build. The engines are starting. Sammy Halbert there next to Jamie Stouffer on the grid. Paul Caslick, the veteran, in there. I hope he's calmed down from his earlier heat in the Americanas where he was all fired up.
Might be better off staying fired up, Phil, because this is it. This is where it all happens. And again, that start is very important. On board with Henry Wiles there, the American.
We can see the starting grid is starting to get a little bit rutted up there as well, right in front of the gates as everyone will try and get the power down over those bumps. Josh Hook, one of the last riders to get his machine started by the look of it. Right next to Troy Bayliss doing the burnout on the line to try and warm the rear tyre up, that little bit of extra traction. On board with Chris Vermeulen. Looking down the inside, he's got a good starting position for Vermeulen on the inside of the circuit. We're away in the 2014 Troy Bayliss Classic Cup final, and it is Bayliss himself that leads down into turn 1 for the first time, followed by Troy Herfoss. And is that Josh Hook or Jamie Stouffer?
Josh Hook, I think, on the outside there, so Josh Hook back to about 4th.
Oh, very tight action now through the right-hand dog leg, back to the dirt track format rather than the Americanas that we saw earlier on in the evening. Kev, how long will it take the riders to adjust themselves from the Americana event earlier on?
As you can see there, the track's been rolled for this final, so it's in really good nick, and Troy Bayliss making most of that, and the riders have got to sort of readjust the chip in the brain, got that right-hand dog leg they're getting through now. Again, the track in pretty good condition, but there is still those rutted areas you can see there on the last turn before the finish line.
Well, Sammy Halbert on bike number 7 is up into a clear second place now. Troy Herfoss in 3rd place, Josh Hook in 4th. Here comes Henry Wiles right behind Michael Kirkness, the victor last year, Kevin. He has got a little bit of work to do, a little bit further back in the pack than he would have liked at this stage of the event. He's just made up 1 place. He's gone past Josh Hook on bike number 34.
He's got Josh Hook and put Henry Wiles a further position behind. Bayliss on the wall, and Sammy Halbert doing the same thing, the visiting American. In 2nd place and trying to take it to Troy Bayliss, 3-time World Superbike champion.
Do you reckon Troy Bayliss wants to win his home event? He just looks like he's trying a little bit hard at the moment.
His own event is his home event, and he is definitely trying to win it by the way he's riding. And Sammy Halbert's trying not to let him have it own way, and they've got a bit of a gap on Troy Herfoss, and the talent Troy Herfoss has got, I would imagine he might be able to close that gap down and make it a 3-way battle.
Well, Troy Herfoss, he hopefully won't be coming into contact with Henry Wiles like he did in the Americana final, where Wiles tried to run over his foot as they make their way through the corner now and come round to complete another lap. It is Kirkness back there in 3rd place. He's got a battle on his hands. Paul Caslick putting in a great ride back there in the pack on bike number 3 as well. Great to see some of the legends making it through Superpole and into the Troy Bayliss Cup final.
And that's the great thing about the Troy Bayliss Cup. Age doesn't matter, whether you're current, retired or whatever, or for what discipline you come from. This is a really good leveller, and we can see that in this 21-lap final so far. But it's Troy Bayliss himself and Sammy Halbert that are stamping their authority at the moment.
Troy Bayliss looking like he could be in American flat track at the race at the moment, the way that he's manhandling that KTM 450 around. He's getting it sideways into the corner, and he's getting it sideways on the way out of the corner as well. Kirkness is up into 3rd place and starting to pull away from Herfoss. Halbert's into the lead. Halbert into the lead, overtaken Troy Bayliss. Bayliss will come straight back at him now and gets back into the lead.
Yeah, there's none of that going to go on as far as Troy Bayliss is concerned, and Halbert got out of shape a little bit over the bumps in turn 1, and Bayliss saw that and got straight back at him before turn 2.
Well, I think what a credit to Sammy Halbert that he's only seen this track a couple of times before. Troy Bayliss has done more laps around here than you can poke a stick at, and yet Sammy Halbert and both Henry Wiles as well have put in a great effort considering the limited amount of laps and preparation time that they've had.
Yeah, definitely, but racing dirt track 42 times a year, or the oval tracks in America, they're very much used to this stuff, so they've only got to turn right once, so it should be pretty easy.
Kirkness pushing hard there in third place. Herfoss in fourth. Luke Richards pushing incredibly hard there, Kev, as he tries to make his way forward on bike number 24.
Yeah, he's having a real good crack at it, and we've got a little ways to go yet, and you can see how hard that Sammy Halbert's trying. He lost a little bit in the first turn and then out of the left into the right, so he's got everything on the line trying to go with Troy Bayliss.
Well, you can see the different styles of the riders there as they make their way through that left-hander. Troy Bayliss, he is riding it like an American dirt tracker at the moment. He's got the elbows out. We've got Sammy Halbert. Halbert is down. Halbert's down and out of contention.
Oh, just about hit there by, I think it was Josh Hook. Picked the bike up, facing the wrong way. That's no good. Get the thing turned around. You might drive on the other side of the road, but you can't go the wrong way in dirt track. So
especially not at the old bar circuit, Kev. As Josh Hook now has got the lone standing American. Henry Wiles for company as they make their way around. Luke Richards is starting to close very, very quickly as well. But Halbert is out of contention. Troy Bayliss is riding off to a ceremonial victory. Look at the gap now he's got over Michael Kirkness and Troy Herfoss. Henry Wiles comes back on Josh Hook as well.
Henry Wiles trying to make the best of what he can with this visit to Australia, and Josh Hook will try to get him back before the end of it, but he'll have his work cut out because Henry Wiles just putting in his best effort.
I just think Luke Richards was going to make a big lunge on the inside of Josh Hook as well as they were coming down into that corner. Has Luke Richards been able to make his way past the Australian Supersport number 3 from a couple of years ago and Superbike rookie? It is Henry Wiles, Josh Hook, Luke Richards. Look at the style from Richards as he gets that front foot out and trying to get up the inside of Josh Hook at the moment. On board with Chris Vermeulen, a great shot of some excellent dirt track style in front. Matt Davies
right there in front of Chris Vermeulen, so they're very hard at it, and I think that's Kaslik in front of Matt Davies, so Kaslik showing some real good form here in the 21 lap final.
Paul Kaslik would have to be twice Matt Davies' age and then maybe a couple as well.
But he's still a fast man, a very fast man with that. Back on board with Jamie Stouffer.
And Wayne Maxwell right behind him, of course, sparring partners in the Australian Superbike Championship for many, many years, former teammates as well. I'll tell you what, they won't be liking the fact that their former junior teammate, Josh Hook, is leading them a merry chase at the moment. I said that it would only be a matter of time before Richards was up in the middle of this battle, and he is now. He is the meat in the sandwich between Henry Wiles and also Josh Hook, and putting in a great ride. There goes Kirkness and Herfoss. No love lost between those two as they try to battle it out. They've been at it all night, been all afternoon, in fact.
They have indeed, and Herfoss, you can see, trying every which way to get past Mick Kirkness, but can't do it yet, and trying to set up through that right-hand dogleg to get the run down the inside, but Kirkness pretty strong there, and it's a very hard task on the inside because then you've got to stop and turn it and try and get it out onto the straight fast.
Well, fastest lap of the race so far was actually Troy Bayliss on the second lap, Kev, so he wanted to get off to that good start, and he managed to pull a really good lead early on, but we saw Sammy Halbert come back at him, but unfortunately Halbert has crashed out, and he's now down towards the rear of the grid. And Troy Bayliss has got a pretty comfortable lead over this battling duo of Michael Kirkness on 387 and Troy Herfoss on 17. Kirkness won the event last year. Herfoss was in the top 3 as well. He wants to do better this year, but the other thing is that Troy Herfoss is also a former AMA Supermoto champion, former Australian Supersport champion, and in fact top 3 in the Australian Superbike Championship in his rookie year. The man has got talent.
He can certainly ride a motorcycle, be it dirt, tar or whatever, and there's no question about that, but getting past Mick Kirkness at this point in time is another thing, because his determination to catch leader Troy Bayliss is obviously showing out right here with his laps, his speed and his determination. I don't know how much blocking he's doing on Herfoss, but he's probably just going as fast as he absolutely can.
Well, remember last year Kirkness was quite upset that he didn't get an invitation into the All-Stars event. Made sure he came out, won the event, got an invitation into the All-Stars this year, and doing another fantastic job is Michael Kirkness on 387, sitting there in second place at the moment. He's got Herfoss for company. There's a massive gap back to the next rider.
He's had a stab at it. Troy Herfoss has gone up the inside of Kirkness into the last turn and pulled it off. But it's all Bayliss. Look at him out front. He's got a very handy lead, and I mean, he's had the pressure on him, but looks like he got a little bit wide there, wasted a little bit of time. He can probably do that, but it's all Troy Bayliss.
Well, as he said, he hasn't made it any easier for himself this year with the level of competitiveness in the field. But Troy Bayliss streaks to victory, takes the checkered flag from Graham Checker Stewart. Troy Herfoss gets the better of Michael Kirkness. You can see the disappointment on Kirkness by his body language. Henry Wiles, the next rider, across the start-finish line. But Bayliss, he goes berserk. The crowd goes berserk here at Taree. Kevin McGee, they are ecstatic that the home man has taken victory over Troy Herfoss and the other local man, Michael Kirkness.
Absolutely, local boy Bayliss and Henry Wiles all the way from America there. Probably not that happy with that, and Sammy Helmet, who went down earlier, yeah, bit of a wasted trip for the boys.
Well, Henry Wiles is probably happy that he beat Sammy Halbert, that's for sure. But Bayliss takes the plaudits from the crowd and shows you how happy he is to win his home event, the Troy Bayliss Cup at the Troy Bayliss Classic for 2014. Final results for the Troy Bayliss Cup sees Troy Bayliss take victory from Troy Herfoss, Michael Kirkness, Henry Wiles in 4th place, and Luke Richards rounds out the top 5. Let's go down and hear from the very excited Troy Bayliss after his emotional victory.
Troy, you did it.
Yes, I was feeling confident, but I mean, the guys have been riding really fast. I made that mistake in the Americana, which was a bit of a bummer, but we knew we had the speed, and I'm so happy. Like I said, my dream was to run a great event, and I've had so many people make this happen, and I've got a lot of people to thank. And for me, to have a win is the icing on the cake. I always say that, but Christ, I'm going to have a beer.
Fairy tale ending for the man that the event is named after. Troy Bayliss wraps up the Cup for 2014 in the biggest event yet for the Troy Bayliss Classic. Hopefully 2015 will be bigger and you'll be able to join us trackside at the Old Bar Circuit. On behalf of Kevin McGee, this is Phil Harlem. Thanks for joining us and see you next year.
Coming up after the break, the fight for New Zealand drifting supremacy continues on in earnest with round 4 of the D1 NZ National Drifting Championships from Hampton Downs Motorsport Park.